I had resigned from my teaching job because we were planning to go to Australia, but we didn't go. So I was without a job that autumn. And my previous headmistress talked to me about Stradishall, and she said, you know, they're going to need some help. They're starting a playgroup. Would you be interested in going to help? So I said, yes, that sounds great. And Mrs. May, who was the wife of Canon May at St Mary's in Newmarket, she had been brought from retirement to run it. She had been the area playgroup organiser, and what she didn't know about young children wasn't worth knowing. And she and I travelled every day for about a fortnight to run this playgroup. And then as more and more children started coming into the playgroup, who obviously were much older than playgroup children, they were coming in because they were bored, they wanted something to do. And the Education Authority, Suffolk Education Authority, stepped in and said, well, we've got to do something for the older children. And that's how the school got started, and I was asked if I would like to help out with that. So it all began then. It started off with the playgroup, feeling that there should be something to amuse and entertain the children and keep them occupied. And after about 2 weeks, as more and more older children were obviously finding that was the only place of interest and occupation, they were coming in and wanting to help and take part. And it was at that point, about 2 weeks later, that the education authorities realised they had to provide something more for the older children. So in the aircraft hangars, they set up equipment, classrooms, desks, and all equipment needed for them in, I don't know, 2 or 3 hangars, or in one hangar. There were several classrooms operating, you know, at different ends of the hangar. I can't remember exactly. And more staff were brought in, obviously, and that's how it operated. I don't remember there being any particular guidance on what we should be teaching them, other than giving them a gist of what being in England was like, and keeping going the sort of general English and maths particularly, because they all seem to be pretty hot at maths. They loved art, and art activities always went down well. And I decided to do a sawdust firing with making these little thumb pots, and that was very much enjoyed, although the children were rather disappointed when all the pots came out black. But they quickly rectified that, and they demanded bright colours to paint them with. And so I was imagining they'd be beautifully polished and black and subtle, but no, they wanted the bright colours. I don't know how I got into it, but I mean, singing was a great thing. And we did a collage at one time of Tom Pearce, Le Mille Grey Mare, which is hysterical to hear a class full of Asian voices singing that. That was quite an experience. I think that was much enjoyed. Whether that was typical of English country life, I don't know, but it was a taste of what we're about. Life for them was so strange and so odd that they were just pleased to be free and safe. There were so many children coming and then going. I mean, you know, your register would get longer each day as more children came in the door, and you had to call out this incredible register. And then there would be sort of people who would be rehoused quickly and had moved on. It was difficult to get to know all the children, obviously, because they were just names on a register. But with the ones that I sort of made specific contact with, or they made contact with me, their English was good. It was a huge romp, really, for all of us, I think, you know, just being in this enormous hangar as a classroom. And it was just all so unusual. And the children were very rewarding. I mean, there were some naughty children and mischievous children, you know. It was good fun. We took them on one outing, I remember, to Bury Market, and I think there was no problem, that was fine, and no sort of awkwardness from local people. One in particular, this Asmina, she was always hanging around after school, just wanting to talk. And so she and I, made contact more readily, perhaps, than with others who went straight away home. She was always wanting to sort of have a chat and find out more about what was going on, or just generally make a link. And so she and I have remained pretty close ever since. Things sort of materialized later as I got to know Asmina sort of later after the camp, and other children, and their different sort of traditions, really. That became more obvious later rather than at the camp, where people were just, I think, living from day to day, because, they really didn't know from the trauma of leaving. And that first Easter, when Stradishall was disbanded, and from Stradishall most of the remaining people went to Gaydon in Oxfordshire, Asmina and her friend Zara came to stay with me that first Easter week in the sort of transition between Stradishall and Gaydon. And Asmina came subsequently for the next 2 or 3 years, and Zara came one more time. Oh, and a little Hindu girl came as well, Chandrika. She came actually that first Easter. I was getting mixed. And that was a bit of a problem, knowing what to feed them, because of their different dietary habits, I thought. And so they suggested a sarg. So we had sarg every day, which they thought was hysterical when they got home to tell their parents. But they were easy with it. It all worked well. Asmina wanted me to say, when I was talking to her this week about, anything you want me to say or not say, and she said, well, when I got to England and it was snowing, I think they arrived in early October, and we had a very early snow that year. And she said, we'd spent this awful time on the plane. We were still told to keep quiet and not to look around, and, the tension in the aeroplane. And then when it was snowing, Asmina wanted to go and play with the snowflakes. And her father admonished her and said, come on, you must kneel down and you must thank everyone for being here and being safe, and and she wants to let UK know that she's very grateful for being here. And although she's had a tough life, she's had all sorts of physical problems, but she is one of those girls who says her cup is half full. I think the relief of feeling safe when those families arrived, having been so harried and frightened. I mean, Asmina's father had seen awful things which caused him difficulty. Asmina had nightmares, she said. She didn't talk about this at the time. She's talked about this since I've been asking her, because I didn't sort of bother her too much about, what it was like. She told me as she felt the need, but she did say she was bothered with nightmares for quite a long time after. I mean, they were leaving Uganda, wealthy people, most of them, and then leaving with £50 in their pocket, or that might be taken off them if they displeased someone in the queue. So they were people who really were being stripped of identity. And if one doesn't have compassion for people going through that, then I don't know, there's little hope for us. But I think what we provided was probably, it was what was needed at the time, and they seemed to be resettled very efficiently, seemingly pretty efficiently and quickly. And Stradishall only lasted the 2 terms before the numbers had gone down so much, and the remaining ones were, filling up other camps as Stradishall closed and other camps were closing. I think it was an example of efficient compassion, if you like. I like to think it was. It was a great experience, and very sad, I say, to think that you wouldn't be allowed to do that now, to take a couple of children home and give them a break, which is what it really was all about. I think the compassion is there. I mean, goodness knows how many people are offering homes to Ukrainians, but can't get the whole thing processed. I mean, this is the ridiculous state we're in now, when there is more people than ever are aware of the needs of others. They want to help, and yet the sort of slow grinding of paperwork is holding the whole process up. I'm very pleased I was able to be there at the time and help, yes, and have the friendships that I have had.